All right, we'll go from fireside to firearms. Coming up next Thursday, the Republican women of Leelanau County have their second annual dinner called Protecting the Second Amendment Dinner, and Mr. Rick Ector will be their guest. He's been on Fox News. He's been quoted in the Associated Press. He's been in the media a lot. Well, for a number of reasons. He is a certified concealed weapons trainer. He's a credentialed firearms trainer, and he promotes Second Amendment and the idea of being legally armed and trained, and he does it all from Detroit, sometimes called the most violent city in the country, at least one of them. And he's on the line with us right now. Rick Ector, good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, I've seen you on Fox News. I forget what story was in the news, but they had you come on and speak. But I guess I don't know what the novelty is. Why you're featured so much? I think most people agree with you that being legally armed is kind of a safe thing to do. I don't know. Is that weird in Detroit?
It's not necessarily weird, man. It's just the way politics run. There are certain people, groups, and organizations that are not in favor of guns. And you know what? To be quite honest, 20 years ago, I felt pretty much the same way until I, met two gangsters in my driveway who decided to commit an armed robbery, right in front of my residence. But, I'm here to share the message that, you're responsible for your safety and you shouldn't shirk that duty.
So were you the victim or somebody else victimized in that armed robbery?
I was robbed.
You were robbed, and that changed your mind on figuring out how to protect yourself?
Yeah, it was an epiphany, man. A bells went off, and I decided that I needed to do something about it. I did my research, and I got trained. Back then we didn't have the shall issue legislation on the books, and it took maybe 11 months for my concealed pistol license to arrive. But once it did, I took that duty and that responsibility seriously, and just immersed myself into learning everything I could about being safe.
So if somebody, say, I know you're an instructor in Detroit, somebody studies with you and they pass the test and they study to get a concealed weapon and they're a responsible firearm owner, and they what's the feeling? What do you feel, a little more confident? How's that change your attitude as you drive and walk around Detroit or anywhere else?
Well, when I teach the courses, I tell everyone that this isn't the last training that you're going to need. There's so much that goes on into personal protection. Just how you change your daily awareness in terms of things that are happening around you and people that you associate and daily tasks and risks that you engage in that could impact your safety. So it's really a lifestyle, so not so much just a quaint hobby of carrying around a firearm everywhere you legally can do so.
Well, that's a great point, and I'm glad you to teach that. It's your personal safety's up to you. You can carry a firearm if you're trained, but there's a lot more that goes into it. The whole point is not having to use the firearm, right?
Oh, yeah. The whole point is not to have to use it. I mean, there are all sorts of consequences that will ensue if you are forced to do so. And by avoiding putting yourself in those situations, you drastically reduce the likelihood of something bad happening. Just being aware, watch your associations and places you go. And let me tell you, it goes a long way towards being safe. A gun is a tool of last resort, man. If you absolutely have to do so, then that's what you need to do.
Well, I used to work and live in downtown Detroit, and I managed a bar there, and at night I would go out into the lit parking lot, but I would always kind of duck down and look before I got my car and see if there were any feet on the other side, because sometimes somebody could be laying in wait. And so that's one of those, the defensive measure, Just
the simple task of just paying attention to who's following you. And you're like, okay, well, I don't do a lot of walking. Well, let's just assume that you're driving home from work and you're paying attention to all the cars that are around you. If you, and I believe this happened in my particular case, I turned off our major street, our major thoroughfare, I turned down my residential street, and the car that was trailing me, unbeknownst to myself, just followed me. And right there, they quickly made it happen. They saw me not really paying attention. They trailed me for a bit, and they caught me unaware and unready. Had I known that they were following me, I could have had some other options available, even without a gun.
Yeah.
Just go to a police station and call 911. But I was not in that mind space of protecting myself.
So that's great that you teach your students that. I also read, though, that do you work with people who have been victimized by violent crime?
I do all sorts of activities, man, and when people call me, I'm there. The big event that I do every year that I did this past August, man, I do it every year. I've trained a lot of women how to use firearms. This past event we did a month or so ago, we trained just over 1,000 women how to safely operate a firearm. We gave them a free range safety briefing. We paired them one-on-one with a firearms trainer, and we gave them some starting skills, just to immerse them. And if they want to pursue it further, they can contact me or any other qualified trainer to help them along their journey.
Boy, do you think the criminal mind, now that we have it's a faster process to get a legal firearm, we have great training classes, we have legalized concealed weapon, do you know if the bad guys are a little more cautious now because they never know who's trained and who's carrying?
And that's the good thing. The good thing is that so many people are exploring personal protection that it is making their job a hazardous occupation, and that's good, because the fact that any person on the street could be carrying a gun could be their undoing. Now, everyone isn't carrying, but just the fact that so many are doing it, it even protects the anti-gunner. So what,
I've heard of a few cases, both men and women, who were about to be victimized in parking lots here or there, or the holdup or a rape or something, and they were able to scare the person off by, pulling out their weapon. What is the advice, or what is the picture if, anybody, a male or female, is pushing their shopping cart and they're walking over to their car and they're going to load their groceries in there, and boom, out jumps a bad guy or two and says, "All right, give me your purse or give me your wallet." At what point, when is the proper time to actually pull out your weapon and use it? What would be a case where you would pull it out and show the guys that you have a weapon?
Well, the general take I give is if you are somewhere you have a legal right to be, you're not engaged in a crime, and if you have a reasonable and honest belief that you're facing an imminent threat of great bodily harm, sexual assault, and death, then you, of course, may use lethal force without a duty to retreat. There's a lot of key phrases in there that could be the subject of a separate lecture. But you know what? Why even put yourself in that situation? Why go in sketchy neighborhoods? Why go at night? Why go alone? Why not be aware?
Yep.
I'm not guaranteeing that everyone's going to be safe if they do these things. Well, that's why I say it's a tool of last resort. If you live a personal protection lifestyle, you drastically reduce the odds that you'll be selected for victimization.
Former Detroit Police Chief James Craig was hailed by some, criticized by others a couple of years ago, I guess it was, when he said, look, the police cannot be everywhere. And he promoted the idea of arming yourself legally. Have you ever met him, or what did you think of that as coming from a police chief telling citizens, yeah, you probably should arm yourself?
I've met him a couple of times. As a matter of fact, he made a campaign stop at our free shooting event for women, just a month or so ago. And I think his message is great, and it's resonating with the people. I think there are some local people of a certain political persuasion who are offended that he's telling people that they have a right to be left alone and that they should consider arming themselves, especially if the police can't get there, in a timely fashion to prevent you from being robbed, raped, or killed. But here's the thing that most people don't understand. The police do not have a duty to prevent any individual citizen from being a crime victim. That is your job. The police are there to protect the general peace and the civic order of things. You and you alone are responsible for your safety, and there's at least 2 Supreme Court decisions that back that up.
Yeah, and the police are usually called after the fact, too, and then it takes time to get there. So
Well, by then, too late. You're already victimized, and sadly to say, people are robbed, murdered, and raped every day in our country and in the Metro Detroit area.
trying to get
I presume you guys, things aren't so volatile up there.
yeah, well, it's there's not as many people, and so there's not as much crime, but you never know. It breaks out everywhere. Frank, I should say Rick, Mr. Rick Ector, our guest, will be speaking next Thursday, the keynote speaker for the Republican Women of Leelanau County. They have a dinner every year to celebrate the Second Amendment. And Rick's a National Rifle Association credentialed firearms trainer, does concealed weapons class training, and you can hear how he teaches people to not just how to carry a gun, but how to get in the right personal protection frame of mind. And I'm sure he'll have some of that. Now, next week, you can attend the dinner. It's the Republican Women's Club of Leelanau County, but they do have some seats for you. If you want to go, you have to call Jennifer at 649-4019. If you didn't get the number, call me, email me, text me, whatever if you want. 649-4019 to get your tickets there. It's at the Elks Club in Traverse City. And Rick has been on Fox News. I've seen you on there several times, NPR, newspapers all over the place. You're like the go-to guy a lot of times when they have some of these firearm stories, aren't you?
Well, it is indeed an honor that certain media outlets and media shows find value in my message and the things that I share with people, not only on personal protection, but this whole notion of freedom and what it is that we have to do every single day that we are still here to ensure that that freedom exists for our future generations that come behind us.
Yeah, and we have to protect that, and along with ourselves and our families and our property. And that is, as you say, your responsibility. It's not the government. It's not the police. I've got one question. A guy called in here with a question. I'm going to run that by if that's okay, Rick.
Oh,
no,
yeah,
he's
ahead.
Gone. He hung up. That's okay.
Oh,
all right.
okay.
So Thursday night, what is there a main message you're going to get across to the Republican women of Leelanau County, or how are you going to address the people there? What do you have to say next week?
Well, I'm just going to hit on some main things, man, and I'm currently crafting my specially designed speech for them this upcoming week, and it's going to center on freedom, responsibility, and the best way to ensure those is to support gun rights. And it's going to be great. We're going to have a lot of fun. And the food, I hear it's going to be A1. So,
well, listen.
If you're not doing your thing next Thursday night, make sure you come on out.
Our rights can disappear easily if we don't have brave people like you standing up, speaking out publicly, and sharing information and ideas. So thank you for doing that, and thanks for your time here this morning.
Hey, man, it was an honor to be on the show. Thank you very much, and I look forward to meeting everyone that comes out to the event.
All right, Rick Ector from Detroit, Michigan, next week, keynote speaker. Thursday night at the Elks Club, Republican Women of Leelanau County celebrating the Second Amendment, their annual dinner. All right, it's 9:43. We'll get a quick break, and we'll be right back here on WTCM News.